everybody, this is Debbie Mueller. I'm bringing you a video today showing you a still life painting of this grouping of lemons. I really love painting citrus. There's something about the way the light sometimes shines through that I really enjoy, as well as some of the reflected light in the shadows. I enjoy that as well. There's a couple of things that I feel like I am bearing my soul with this video. The first is I make a pretty big drawing mistake, which you'll see me fix probably 3/4 of the way through. That's what I like about oil paint, at least I can fix it. The other thing that you will see is a habit that I have had since I was a child. When I'm really concentrating, I stick my tongue out a little bit. My third grade orchestra concert, I remember Mrs. McDermott like frantically motioning for me to put my tongue back in my mouth, but I obviously still do it. Some of you may know that my full-time profession is that I'm an OBGYN, and part of that I do surgery, and you better believe I'm concentrating when I do that. But the good part about that endeavor is that I wear a mask, and so nobody can see. So here I am, unmasked, sticking my tongue out, concentrating, and here we go. So what you can see is that I've already done an underpainting using mostly burnt sienna with just a little bit of ultramarine blue to get some of the darkest areas. I have thought a little bit about composition. I wanted something that was dynamic. You saw my reference photo at the beginning of the video, and you can see that I'm working on a quilt that's pink and white, but there's some slight variations in that. The good news is that as I'm sticking my tongue out and concentrating, I'm really looking at my still life setup and really trying to understand what it is that I'm seeing. And again, with the quilt, it is a little complicated. Every other triangle is white, and so I have white and light and white and shadow, and I'm trying to kind of keep all of that straight. I had pre-mixed my color, but still needed to do some modifications a little bit. And so the pre-mixing, though, did allow me to be a little quicker in terms of getting some of the paint in. In general, I try to work the darks first, and you see me kind of going for those shadow shapes first. Painting yellow objects in shadow is always really interesting. Your brain looks at yellow in shadow and it says, well, it's yellow, it's dark yellow. But most of the time it's green, and sometimes it's brown, and there can be nuances, and so that's fun and challenging. Here I'm getting the rind of the lemon, and in shadow it often is sort of a purple, blue, or green color. It's definitely a cool color. That face of the upper lemon is in full sun or full light. It's indoors, but full light, and so the rind there gets almost white. It's not pure white. I've mixed that with a little bit of my yellow. What I really loved about this composition was actually that shadow from the upper left lemon crossing onto the one on the right side, and I thought that was pretty cool. So now I'm kind of playing with the pinks. One of the things that I did when I chose my palette, knowing that I was going to be painting a lot of pinks, was I chose a red that I knew would behave for me when I added white. You know, if you add white to cadmium red, you get a kind of a salmon color. It's not my favorite. And with alizarin crimson, it's a little more pink, but it's still not particularly vivid. And so my advice to you is if you're painting something that has pink in it, and certainly there's not a lot of that in the landscape, but in a still life there might be, try some things out first, mixing it with a little bit of white. What I used here was something called alizarin claret. It's a Michael Harding paint. But quinacridone magenta would also work, but you really want one that's gonna make a pleasing pink. So here you see, here's the mistake. So I'm recognizing that when I actually look at my subject, the edge of that right-hand lemon really comes almost to the edge of the one that it's just under. So I go ahead and I fix that. It just wasn't right. And I think looking at the painting, someone else probably would have looked at it and said, something's off, but I don't know what. And I knew what it was. So I did fix it. So just kind of refining some of those shapes a little bit. The other mistake that I made with this is, if you really look closely, the quilt dimensions are off a little bit. And so after I stopped recording, I actually went in and corrected some of that. I'm drawing some of the pits in. They were fun. Some of them were just really in shadow. Others of them had some light on the top. And on the right-hand lemon, they were actually, two of them were cut. And so you could see kind of the little shell around it and then the cut surface of it. So that was pretty cool. I'm getting into a little detail here, trying to get some of the subtle shading of the fruit of the lemon as the light hits it and kind of bounces around. I didn't want to get too literal, but I wanted to differentiate, the fact that each of these are lit in a different way. The one on the bottom left has some transillumination happening. The one on the top left is in face on, like the light is directly on it. And the other one, the light is a little bit oblique. It's kind of like raking across the top of it a little bit. And I was trying to get that feeling that you would know that the light is coming in a different way for each one of those. Just trying to get a little detail again on the top. There was some light again on the rind on the bottom left, and I put that in, and then I ended up taking it out later. Also some little shadows in that top one as well. So, the initial getting color in is pretty quick, and then it's all this like kind of perfection. Do you think that I've noticed yet that I didn't fill in the triangle at the very top left of my painting? That's still my underpainting. And pretty soon I'm going to realize that I haven't even touched that spot. Let's see how long it takes me to notice that. There's a couple of other things that I changed. I have the shadow on the bottom left stopping right where the color changes, and I didn't want to do that. So I ended up changing that a little bit as well too. Trying to get that terminal shadow in so that you get the feeling that lemon is really sitting on the ground on that surface. Little shadow under that area as well. Ah ha ha ha. Now I notice it. Let's get some pink in there. Trying to get a little juicy color and juicy paint in the light areas to really build those up, keep the darks kind of thin, and make the lights shine a little bit. A little bit of that reflected light that I was mentioning earlier is on the bottom side of that lemon there. And just trying to get that to show. So this is the finished painting, and you can see I did even out a few of those quilt lines and just make some small modifications in that shadow at the bottom. Anyway, this was a lot of fun, and if you have questions, I'd be delighted to respond in the comments below. Please subscribe to my channel, sign up for my newsletter at my website, and follow me on Instagram. Happy painting!